speaking, just by looking at that market, where we're seeing that market coming under pressure when the expectation would have been that we'd be seeing more money coming back into the market after what has been described as the best.
Hi, Godfrey.
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We saw some pressure in the Nigerian stock exchange basically because it's month-end. For speculators, it's time to take profit because you've seen prices inch up in the last 1 month as results have been released. That's year-end results. We've also seen some results of first quarter performance by financial institutions come out, and other companies, that is non-financial institutions, release very good results. So they showed a pattern. They've shown a pattern of sustainability in their performance, not just showing 2010 year-end positive results, but that in the first quarter they've also done well. So we've seen prices inch up, and then basically today's performance is would have to do with people taking profit for the month end. Of course, it's the beginning of another quarter.
Sure, but would it make sense for people to be taking profit, particularly at this time when we've got Nigeria having just elections that have been roundly praised as the best in decades, and perhaps then giving the impression that what we set for is a longer-term bull trend, if you like?
Okay, on the medium term and long term, we expect influx of funds into the Nigerian stock exchange because of the confidence that we will garner from what has just happened. But in the recent past, let's maybe go back to December when there was a continuous slide in prices. Of course, you don't want to get caught in that kind of, I don't know how to put it, but we expect that on the long run, wholesale, that's all in all, it's going to be a positive run because just like I said, I would emphasize again that it's not just good performance at the year end. First quarter, the companies have all shown that they would be able to sustain positive performance. So by year end, we expect the all share index will have improved seriously more than what it is right now.
Indeed. Let's move over to the fixed income market now. We have seen here in South Africa money coming into the fixed income market. In fact, in the past month, this month that has just gone through now, we're looking at a net inflow of about 15 billion rand. Have you been seeing money coming into Nigeria in April?
Yes. This has been the case in the last 1 week. All through April, we saw people selling down. Of course, there was tightness in the money market here because the CBN tried to regulate the amount of money being spent during the election. Inflation actually inched up by 170 basis points, and of course, this affected bonds. That's on the long-term end of the fixed income securities. So what we're beginning to see, I mean, since Wednesday, that there's been aggressive buying. I mean, the market has been very bullish on T-bills, and then on bonds, short-end 3-year bonds too have been very attractive at the yields they are at. The reasons why these yields came up to the levels I feel they are at right now was because there was tightness, number one, and people felt that it wouldn't be nice for, investors or dealers felt that it wouldn't be nice for you to get caught at the prices that they were bought at. So they were selling down, but right now people are getting back in, especially on the short end.
Yeah.
The yields are quite attractive. We see that continuing into all of this month.
Yeah. Now, Bankole, we had the U.S. Yesterday praising Nigeria's election results and perhaps giving that sense that political risk in Nigeria as originally envisaged may perhaps not be what it was given the legitimacy that comes on to President Goodluck Jonathan. Do you see a possibility that we could see a big repricing of Nigerian risk and therefore Nigerian bonds?
Yes, this is very, 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 very. In fact, I would just refer to it as a probability. I would say that is where we're tending to right now, because right before the election, there were tendencies or fears that there might be hiccups and too much litigation. But what we're seeing right now is that elections have gone on well, where preparations were not accurate, elections were postponed, and by the time these elections will be done, it's been very peaceful. We expect that the sovereign bond that had been issued before at around 7% will become more active, and then the stock exchange too, we expect a lot of FDIs to come in. We know that some breweries, international breweries that showed interest, but most people put discussions on hold just to see the way elections was going to go.
Yeah.
And then another sector where we'll see a lot of improvements is the banking sector, where there were merger talks, but due diligence actually slowed down as results started to trickle in. So now that we're seeing first quarter performance of the banks that were rescued, you will see the bigger banks or the foreign banks that showed interest coming strongly this time around.
Indeed. Now, on the other hand, we also saw the Naira today coming slightly under pressure against the US dollar. But at the same time, we have seen it appreciating in the past week at the interbank market. Can we read again a repricing of Nigerian risk in here?
Okay, basically what had happened was that immediately after the presidential election, the Naira of course repriced and revalued as against the devaluations we'd had in the last few months. But we've had public holidays with 1 day for election, and so we've not seen oil companies come to sell some of their dollar cash for month-end settlement of obligations.
Yeah.
So there's been tightness of dollars. So we seen the interbank move seriously today, about 30 to 40 kobo. Basically, it's because of that gap that had not been filled by oil companies.
Yeah.
We expect that oil companies would indeed sell to complement what CBN is doing at the WDAS.
Yeah. So what's your outlook for the Naira for next week?
Naira, we expect a slight revaluation, but it then depends on what the CBN will do in the volumes.
Yeah.
But just as I said, the oil companies, I expect that they will sell some dollars to meet their Naira obligations.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, we will see stability of the Naira.
Yeah. Some of the reports that I've seen have suggested that we could see, well, the Naira gaining against the US dollar, particularly given the troubles that we've seen the US dollar encountering in overseas markets. Do you see a possibility that the central bank could allow the Naira to go back below 150 without intervening?
Well, going back to below 150, it may not be, I won't vouch for that, but I know that Naira would revalue because demand would dwindle. Demand was mostly attached to the political activities, importation of gadgets that were going to be used and other materials, because most materials that were used were actually imported. But right now, after election, post-election, we expect Naira to revalue. I wouldn't guarantee that it will get to below 150 level.
Well, Odusanya, if you look at the fact that you have got oil prices at $124 a barrel, and some people are talking possibly about those prices continuing strong given the troubles that the U.S. economy is in. You know, the reasoning being the weaker US dollar is what is feeding the higher commodity prices. It's therefore possible that we may likely see the US dollar weaker for longer, which of course gives the Nigerian currency as well as other high-yielding currencies an opportunity to appreciate. If that were the case, surely the Naira should be appreciating.
Yes, this is actually very possible. I mean, looking at what's happening in the Middle East, prices are not looking like they're going to slow down. U.S. had moderated its intervention in Libya. We're seeing the uprising increase, take on a very, very wild turn in Syria. And other countries in Africa, we've seen mild protests too in Uganda and then Sudan. This will all affect international prices. If these prices go up, we see more pressure on the dollar. Of course, this is an advantage to the Nigerian currency. Yeah. And then locally, I know that in the United States, price of fuel per gallon had also gone up. If they have local unrest as to that, of course, election is next year, all that will be factored into that mild devaluation of the dollar that we've been expecting. But you must also not forget that other commodities, that safe commodities that investors and long-term buyers would go into are also denominated in dollars.
Yeah.
So this, of course, will help nail out the major effect that negative pressures may bring to the dollar. The golds and platinum and other stones that may be purchased would also help the dollar value. So the major effect, overall effect may be marginal.
Indeed. Lastly, let's look at the interbank market. Now, what sort of trends have we seen this week? And also, do you think perhaps we could likely see the central bank coming in and perhaps looking at rates again, particularly given the inflation picture that we've seen emerging in other parts of Africa? I just reported earlier on today about the higher prices that we saw in Kenya, 12.1% for April, and in Uganda, 14.1%.
Well, over here, the last MPR that we had, the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee meeting that we had Monetary policy rate was increased from about 6.5 to 7.5. That in itself made the market very tight. For 2 months, we had the money market going into a repo, that is, system sucking up all of its Naira, and then that didn't even help on the pressure of the Naira against the dollar. We expect the rate to be maintained. We do not see a hike, because the 100% increase from 6.5 to 7.5 was actually very, very tight on the money market. So basically, most dealers I've spoken to think that it will be retained at the levels they are currently.